I'd like to call to order the Hatfield Township Board of Commissioners regular meeting for January 25, 2023. Roll call.
President Zipfel.
Here.
Vice President Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Andrus. Commissioner Lees.
Here.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Here.
I'd like to ask our solicitor, Mr. Iannozzi, to say the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America. Republic for which it stands.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Okay, is there a motion for approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lees.
Second.
Second by Vice President Rogers. For those of you who are with us, the agenda is on the screen and the agenda before you. I'll call the question. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. We can move forward. Consent items. Is there a motion to move into the record the consent items listed in the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Vice President Rogers, second by Commissioner Zimmerman. Those items include the Board of Commissioners' regular meeting minutes of December 21, the Board of Commissioners' workshop meeting minutes of January 11, the Treasurer's report for the month of January, and the bills payable. Paid bills in the amount of $7,590.38 and unpaid bills in the amount of $421,226.64. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor of moving those into the record, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, those are moved into the record. Okay, citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments on agenda items? Right? Then the first matter we have is a public hearing. I'm going to hand it over to our solicitor. John, am I correct in doing so?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I will suspend the public meeting, proceed into a public hearing, and mark the following exhibits into the record. Applicant's request letter will be marked as B1. Letter to the reporter will be B2. Proof of publication will be B3. Letter to the applicant will be B4. Legal notice B5. The applicant's extension letter will be B6. Is there anybody here that would like party status in this hearing? Seeing none, is the applicant here ready to proceed? Ms. Freeman, you want to take the stand up there and put in your evidence first, and then I'll turn it over to you to present your case.
Evening, everyone. My name is Ellen Freeman. I'm an attorney at Flaherty & O'Hara. We're a law firm based out of Pittsburgh. We do liquor licensing all across the state. I am here tonight on behalf of Wawa Inc., and I do have one exhibit for tonight's hearing. It is just a preliminary floor plan to help you guys visualize what it will look like with a restaurant liquor license attached to the store. So I'm just gonna...
We'll mark that as A1, and that will be omitted into the record. Floor is yours. Please proceed.
Great, thank you. And thank you for your time this evening. We are here to request that Hatfield Township approve a resolution which would permit the intermunicipal transfer of a liquor license, which is currently located outside of the municipality. This particular liquor license is actually an auction license that was auctioned off by the Liquor Control Board, which just means that it was pretty much out of commission for a number of years, and then the Liquor Control Board was able to do a silent auction in order to receive money for that license. You may recall I was here once before for Giant Food Stores. This will be a very similar presentation. My law firm does represent most of the convenience stores and grocery stores here in Pennsylvania, and they pretty much operate all the same way. So if you've been in the Giant Food Stores with the liquor license, if you've been into any other Wawas or other grocery stores with liquor licenses, that's essentially what it's going to look like here. Now, this new store will be located at 1900 North Broad Street. Wawa currently has 19 other liquor licenses within Pennsylvania that they are operating that sell both beer and wine, primarily to go. Now, while they only have 19 here in Pennsylvania, they do have a number of years under their belt selling alcohol at their other stores in Virginia and Florida, well over 100. So they have the experience in selling alcohol. This is not new to them. But they are gearing up operations here in Pennsylvania, and they're very excited to bring it to all of their new builds. Now, at these 19 stores that are open and operating, I am pleased to announce that they have a perfect record with the Liquor Control Enforcement Bureau. So that means that they have no sales to minors, no sales to intoxicated persons, no violation of the liquor code whatsoever. And this perfect record is really largely based on the safety policies and procedures that they've decided to put into place at each of their stores that operate a liquor license. The first one being, and again, this is sort of across the board with grocery stores and convenience stores, they have a 100% carding policy. So no matter what your age, if you come into the Wawa, you're going to be carded by their associate if you wish to purchase beer or wine. All of their associates that are at the registers that are on the licensed premises will go through the responsible alcohol management program training. In addition to that, they'll also go through Wawa's internal training policies to ensure that they know how to properly handle the sale of alcohol. They will, of course, on their licensed premises, have the requisite 30 seats. So if you look at the floor plan in front of you, those seats are located in the bottom left-hand corner, just to the left of the entrance vestibule. So all that seating is right there along with the beer coolers, and the wine racks will be really just in that one particular area. There will, of course, be security cameras throughout the convenience store. There will be security cameras that are going to focus directly on the beer coolers as well as all of the registers to ensure that all of the transactions taking place are caught on camera. The store will be open 24/7. However, there will be limited operations of what they can sell for beer and wine. For beer, there's a larger expansion of time that they can sell. They can sell from Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., but wine sales have to cease at 11 p.m., and then on Sunday, 9 a.m. to 2 a.m., with wine sales ceasing at 11 p.m. They, of course, have a limitation on what they can sell, just like grocery stores and the other convenience stores. They can only sell 192 fluid ounces of beer to go, which is roughly 2 six-packs, and 3,000 milliliters of wine to go, which is roughly 4 standard bottles of wine in a single transaction. So if anyone wished to purchase more than that, they do need to vacate the premises first, come back on, and then they can make a second sale. They do have to allow for on-premises consumption, so they do allow that at all of their 19 stores within Pennsylvania. Because it is not within their model to really be any type of sit-down restaurant, or certainly not a bar that's offering happy hour or entertainment, they do put a limitation on what any patron can consume on premises. So any patron who wishes to have a beer or a glass of wine is limited to two 12-ounce beers or 2 8.5-ounce glasses of wine. In closing, I'd just like to put on the record that Wawa has built up a reputation in each of the communities which it represents. I'm not from this side of the state, but I've heard the debate of Sheetz versus Wawa. I did live in Philly for 3 years, and the reputation that Wawa has is immaculate. Their customers are incredibly loyal. And Wawa wants to protect that reputation. And certainly if they're out there selling alcohol or, all the tobacco sales that they already currently do, they do that in a haphazard manner. I can't stand up here in front of you all and say that they're going to be a responsible operator. So that's why they put these policies in place. That's why they stand by them. They train their employees to ensure that these policies are followed on a day-to-day basis. And they're very proud of that. They're very cautious to come into the alcohol market in Pennsylvania. They're certainly one of the last to do so in terms of the larger corporations that have been accumulating licenses in Pennsylvania. And they did that for a reason. They didn't just want to jump into it and start stuffing licenses into their stores that didn't really have a floor plan for it. So they've thought this through. I welcome any questions. I don't have a representative here with me this evening. Unfortunately, he was not able to attend at the last minute. But I know a lot about Wawa now, so if there's anything that you guys have any questions about, as well as the public, I certainly welcome them.
Before we do that, just for the record, the license numbers are 15117, is that correct?
Yes.
At this time, are there any questions from the board?
Separate registers for the sale of alcohol and other items?
No, not anymore. That used to be the case. However,
Sorry, did I cut you off?
because Wawa, so the law changed, I think this was in 2016 or 17, where if the restaurant liquor licensee gets a wine expanded permit, which they will get in order to sell wine to go, you can actually buy any of the store's products at the same register. It was just a law change. Now it's kind of nice. You don't get turned away from going to that register anymore. There will still be clear signage that says which register will accept the beer and wine, so that customers don't have to be confused and stand in line at one register and then have to go to another one. But otherwise, yes, you can buy all of your products in one transaction.
I stole the question as well.
Or Thunder.
Yep, thunder all the way.
Because I saw on here that there was a beer sales register, like on the one side, but then over where the seating is, I didn't see a register over there, so I didn't know if it was going to be separate.
Yeah, all the registers will be able to accept all non-alcoholic products, but there will just be a few on the licensed premises that can accept the beer and wine.
And is there, you talked about the alcohol management training. I assume that there is, scheduling-wise, there's always going to be at least one person who has had that training, or is it typical that they would have more than one? Because say the one person who has the training becomes ill, how do they handle that? How do they adjust for that?
So they have to maintain 50% of their alcohol service staff at all times in order to maintain their RAMP certification. So not only is it a training that everyone must take within 6 months of being employed at the Wawa with the liquor license, they actually have to have a certification in order to get the wine expanded permit. So at all times that they have to have 50%. Because that number, you never want to go below it. You never want your wine expanded permit to be ripped away from you one day. They pretty much, the second you're hired, you take that course. They mandate that all of their employees have it. That way, there's always somebody on the licensed premises with training.
Okay, any other questions from the board at this time?
You can't use the self-checkout, right?
That's correct.
Can or cannot?
You cannot.
And this design has 30 seats and tables?
That's correct.
I know this is more curiosity than anything. 2 6-packs, roughly 4 bottles. You have to leave the premises. Is it just leaving the building, or is it leaving the property?
Leaving the premises. So you can kind of see where there are hash lines. So the licensed premises is not under hash lines. It's actually a larger scope. So they would have to, a patron would have to actually just walk outside that vestibule, and then they could come right back in. They could still have their product in hand. I'm not sure how much that is followed per se of someone actually exiting the building and coming back in. However, they do abide by 192 fluid ounces and 3,000 milliliters in a single transaction.
And so the training that you talked about, that is the same training that all Wawa employees receive across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It is not unique to a part. So I guess I'm asking because you articulated that they have a 100% success rate in following the law. That it's the same training that they're going to receive regardless of whether it's here or somewhere else, so that we can expect the same type of diligence.
That's correct. They do have regional training programs, but each employee is going to go through that responsible alcohol management program, and then each regional director is given the materials to teach that certain store. So yeah, it will be uniform across the board. They will be bringing those same policies to Hatfield Township.
While it might be an elementary question, let me just ask. It is just beer and wine. It is not hard liquor.
That's a great question. They do have the privilege to sell spirits for on-premises consumption only, but because they are not encouraging on-premises consumption and they don't want to operate that kind of establishment, they do not have any sales of spirits at any of their stores.
7 to 2 a.m., except wine stops at 11.
Yes. And then on Sundays, it doesn't begin until 9 a.m.
Questions, commissioners?
Any questions from the public at this time? None. At this time, I'll close the public hearing, proceed back into the public meeting. We'll render a decision at our next scheduled meeting, which is February 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. And we didn't tease you about coming from our side of the state. If you had worn Eagles, this would have gone even smoother.
I believe Ms.
Anything
Friedman is a
Eagles?
Steelers fan, actually.
Oh,
so
no. Let's not.
We won't put that into the record.
We have a Steelers fan up here. We make his life difficult. So obviously, I'm joking. Thank you.
Notice that Wawa hired an attorney from Pittsburgh. So
Yes, we did notice that.
they know where the
We
bright
noticed.
people are from.
Oh,
in the
here we
state.
go. Here we go.
I'm not sure I'm going to take you on that. I'm not going to challenge you on that because I don't. She seems very nice. I don't want to do the whole Pittsburgh thing, right after the presentation. We noticed that. Yeah, it's a wise decision, wise decision.
See ya.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so, Mr. Solicitor, two weeks from now, our next meeting?
Next meeting, we'll have a resolution for the board's
Our next meeting, or
consideration.
is it a month from now at our?
February 8th.
February 8th, okay,
Yes.
all right. So, residents who have any questions, whether you're here or they watch, they're welcome to reach out to their commissioner or to the staff to ask questions about the license application that's pending. We're happy to field any questions and concerns. So, okay, I'm going to move on to, unless Mr. Solicitor, there's anything else, I'm going to move to the action items.
Fine, nothing else.
Okay, next is action item number 1, Resolution 2301. Is there a motion for approval with regard to the Altera Property Group Land Development Application for 2750 Bethlehem Pike? Is there a motion on that? Anybody? Okay, motion by Vice President Rogers. Chair will make a second. Do you want to, who wants to walk us through this?
Well, the applicant is here. Would you like to take the podium and answer any questions?
I guess I should have had them come up first, but sorry. I was thinking that we take the motion and then have the conversation.
Why don't we just have them?
Probably be helpful if you could just summarize briefly the change in the radius. Commissioner Lees, President Ziffel were not here at the prior meeting. If you could just remind them and just summarize those tweaks that the applicant made to make the turn.
Absolutely. My name is Bob Tucker, attorney at Kaplan Stewart, here on behalf of the applicant. We're here asking you to adopt proposed resolution 2301. The applicant has signed the proposed resolution signifying its acceptance of the conditions contained therein. As you mentioned, we were here a few weeks ago at the workshop meeting explaining the modifications made to truck access onto Bethlehem Pike. And we're going to go through that a little bit. You might recall back in December, this board raised issues concerning truck accessing Bethlehem Pike from the site in terms of the acceleration and moving across 2 lanes. We went back to the drawing board and made some modifications. The radial curve and alignment were changed for the access, allowing trucks to now enter only the closest lane, right lane, and allowing shoulder area along the right-of-way space for trucks to accelerate if needed. The modifications were reviewed by PennDOT and your township engineer, and both have signed off and approved the modifications. I think the board at the workshop meeting was happy with the changes, and that's essentially it.
At this time, is there any questions for the applicant?
Yes. So back in December, I raised a separate issue, which was the property owner has the authority, in my opinion, to make sure that access of large vehicles happens at the bottom of the property, as opposed to in and out off of 309. What, if any, consideration has been given to that recommendation?
That is off of 309, so that's the left turn into the site. That was the
At the
that was
bottom of the
concern?
if I follow this, at the bottom of the property down there, that's right where that circle, where the arrow is right now.
Right.
Is access to the property, and large trucks being diverted to that location on a more regular basis as opposed to going in and out off of 309 is a much safer path for them to take. And I asked back in December to consider that, and I'm wondering what, if any, consideration has been given to that suggestion.
I believe you have your traffic engineer here. Maybe he could answer
Yeah, I'm
those
going to bring up
questions.
Guy DiMartino to discuss.
Now, I will preface this by telling you, the last time we were here, I said, I believe you're the property owner, or at least you have a relationship with the property owner, so it is entirely within your authority, as I understand it, tell me if I'm wrong, to say, you know what, we're going to divert for the people who lease for us, we're going to divert the large trucks to the bottom part of the property as opposed to 309. Feel free to come right over there.
Please state your name for the record and identify your qualifications.
And if I'm wrong with my assumption, tell me I'm wrong.
Liam Sullivan, sorry, Valterra Properties. We absolutely did consider that, and we have actually made accommodations for it. We're kind of working with a balance between which area we impact, balancing the impact there. So we do have an entrance that comes onto Unionville. We've worked on that entrance. You know, you have a intersection that's being improved. There's some light work that is going to be handled by the township. There's some work that we're going to be assuming in that area to actually to be able to handle additional traffic that goes in there. We looked at it as saying not only there was concern at, I believe in the December meeting, there was a member of the public that was here that was just concerned about the amount of traffic in that area. We felt that we were balancing that against the other residential areas in there and not having increased truck traffic or an overburden of truck traffic. So we tried to balance between the two entrances.
Okay, can we have your traffic engineer kind of testify to the traffic flows and?
Sure. Good evening, Guy D. Martino with Traffic Planning and Design. As Liam mentioned, and you're aware, there are the two access points proposed to Bethlehem Pike and then what I'll call the southern access to Unionville Pike.
Right.
And the question, as I understand it, is can we direct more of that truck traffic to ultimately to Unionville Pike access?
I'll give you two questions.
Okay.
You may or may not be able to answer them tonight. First is, has there been any consideration to diverting all traffic of large vehicles, whether that's 18-wheelers, whatever you deem to be suitable down there, or that second question is, if it can't be all, can there be an effort to be that a majority or whoever leases out of there has an obligation to use that as a primary access point? Those are my two questions.
And I fully understand your questions. I just don't want to speak for Liam in terms of discussions with possible tenants.
Let me ask the question, a different question, and my apologies if I'm kind of getting back into this, but I missed last meeting. Who owns the property? Okay. Who is one of you specifically from Altera? Okay. William, come back up for a second. My opinion, here's what I think you have the right to do. You have the right to say any vehicle to your lessees, right? Any vehicle over X amount of pounds or a certain size, you put in your lease with them that they have to enter in Unionville. I'm asking you that you make that a part of your consideration when you do your leases. Or do you already have leases all wrapped up?
We have been speaking with several entities.
Let me tell you, here's where I'm headed with this. The first time on 309, we have a serious accident. That's a problem. And 309 has got all kinds of problems because it's such a heavily used location. And it's not just the townships that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking, from Stuart Kaplan, is one of your council has probably got to say to you, there's a liability issue here with having 18-wheelers going in and out onto 309. They're not going to make that turn, even with adjustments on an acceleration lane. They're not going to make it smoothly. It's going to be dangerous.
I just want to reiterate that PennDOT has looked at this design and they're okay with it. Your engineer, the township engineers looked at it and they're okay with it. And the property owners put a lot of thought into accommodating these concerns, and we think that the changes that were proposed, changing the curve and providing more of the right-of-way to accelerate and only allowing access in the one lane is sufficient to satisfy the concerns with that truck traffic.
I appreciate it, I do, and I'm not trying to be a stick in the mud for you guys, I'm really not. But the first time you have a serious accident there, problem, because it's 309, because there's a lot of serious injuries that take place on that roadway already, and adding this is a real issue. I'm asking you, as the owner, to make a simple instruction to your lessees that they need to divert the majority of their traffic to that lower section. If you tell me today that you're going to make a good faith effort at making that a part of your lease with whoever you're going to lease with, and that there's serious consideration that's going to be made to that, I'm comfortable with that. But tonight is my only chance to make you to force you to be able to do something. After tonight, an accident happens, I can't come back and say, go fix it. Am I correct?
Well, Mr. President, what I would say is a few things. One, PennDOT has looked at it, our traffic engineer has looked at it, deemed that these movements are acceptable. Our resolution could not impose that requirement on them, be very hard to enforce.
No, I understand.
What you're suggesting is just from an operational standpoint, when it's possible, maybe you can have trucks directed to the other entrance point. But my recommendation at this point, the resolution is prepared. Our engineers have looked at it. PennDOT has looked at it. I think at this point, at this juncture, it's in a position to vote it on. And
Okay, no, I understand, and
and-
I'm asking you for a commitment that after tonight, you're gonna take a serious look at that issue, and it's just an operational adjustment. That's all I'm asking you.
And I can commit that we will put a best faith effort into, we certainly will advise any lessee that we have with there, and we will let them know, it's like this could potentially be an issue. It's like we offered up this opportunity for you guys to be able to go down to Bethlehem, or excuse me, to Unionville, and that would alleviate a lot of the traffic. To be honest with you, I really do think that it would get to a point where it would be almost become self-policing. They would realize that they're having too much of a wait time to get onto Unionville themselves, and knowing that there's an opportunity to go to 2 lit intersections, which would allow them a more regulable timing to make the turn. So I absolutely can commit to bringing that to their attention every time.
But just to be clear, PennDOT has looked at it. They're okay with it. Our traffic engineer has looked at it. They both deemed it to be a safe movement. What we're asking you to do is really not enforceable. It's just a good faith effort on your part, when possible, to just use common sense when you're talking to your vendors. I think that's the best we can do at this point.
Agreed, and absolutely, just as a good neighbor, we would do that.
Thank you. Mr. President, I believe it's ready for board's.
We had some discussions about that at the Planning and Zoning meeting Monday with a traffic study engineer. So there were a couple things. They changed the radius because and we weren't aware of this in the very first meeting, that the truck would have had to go out into both lanes.
That would have been my initial assumption.
My initial,
But that wasn't Jerry's. We thought it was just pulling out would cause. Change the radius so that would eliminate the truck having to cross over 2 different lanes. The other thing is we asked Anton that in the future, when he sees something with the 2-lane type thing on 309, raises the concern with us so that we're all fully on board and we know exactly what we're asking for. Then he also went through it's really up to PennDOT.
Yeah.
But I see what they've done with the turning radius, and I'm sure I have enough confidence that we're going to go back and say, you guys may want to consider this route. I think the truck drivers themselves probably going to take the path of least resistance.
And that's really a credit to the commissioners. So you raised that, they went back to the drawing board, and they made it even safer. So I like that as well. So.
already covered my questions, Tom, so,
Twice tonight, didn't I?
listen, I'm good with it, it's okay.
Do you have any questions you need me to cover?
No.
I'm busting your chops a little bit because, we're not talking about vehicles, we're talking about big boy vehicles, right? Trucks, so, and problems happen on 309, so, all right. With your good faith effort, commitment. Okay. Call the question unless there's any other questions or comments. Residents? All right, I will call the question. All in favor of Resolution 23-01, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, and the ayes have it. Resolution 2301 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. All right. Altera Property, Stormwater Maintenance and Public Right-of-Way. Is there a motion to authorize the Township Manager to sign PennDOT Stormwater Management Application regarding maintenance of facilities contingent upon the agreement being approved by the Township Solicitor? And yes, that's the longest motion I've ever read.
Yes, it is.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lees.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Zimmerman. Aaron, do you have this one?
Sure. Mr. President, I think it's clear that I did not write this motion. What this motion does, though, Commissioners, PennDOT, what PennDOT has done over the years is PennDOT is no longer maintaining any stormwater facilities on state roads. So at one point, PennDOT maintain those, signs, traffic signals. Over time, incrementally, they've handed those responsibilities to local government. So technically now, all new stormwater facilities are handled by the local government instead of PennDOT, even on a state road. However, in situations like this, when new infrastructure goes in on a state road and the applicant is a sophisticated and an experienced property owner, we enter into an agreement so the applicant maintains the stormwater rather than the township. There are other circumstances that the township will assume responsibilities, but in this situation, Altera will be responsible for the stormwater facilities frontage on 309. So by approving this motion, you authorize me to sign the agreement once John and his office have drafted it and worked with the applicant to make sure everyone's comfortable with the language. So there'll be no commitment from the township for maintenance moving forward on water facilities associated with development.
Okay. Questions, comments, commissioners? No? All right, then I will call the motion. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Okay, that's our action items for the evening. Citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? Seeing none, then I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lees. Second by Vice President Rogers. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thanks for coming out, folks.